Hi, I'm Macie.
And I'm Kathryn, and this is our Siddhartha project that we created over the course of 3 weeks. We symbolize each of the Four Noble Truths through significant events or objects throughout Siddhartha, and illustrated these symbols in a painting. We also connected a current event with each Noble Truth, and now we will explain.
In our first quadrant, we chose to illustrate the noble truth that existence in suffering through Siddhartha's yellow robes, due to the fact that these were worn by both Govinda's followers and the Brahmins. In our painting, Siddhartha is wearing a torn robe, which illustrates that he had to break free of both the restrictions and laws of his life that invoke suffering and misery, and not only him, but the Brahmins also. Siddhartha rids himself of these laws and suffering, which is actively emphasized through the tearing of Siddhartha's robes.
Along with our symbol, we chose to illustrate the noble truth, existence is suffering, through the tragic event of a Muslim brotherhood being sentenced to death. This action is shown by the Muslims chained in a cell, as their faces illustrate their pain and misery. 2 of the Muslims await their death, while one in the upper left corner seems intent on exiting. Furthermore, the 4th Muslim grimaces, acknowledging that their attempts to escape are futile, and death is inevitable. Their expressions represent the suffering they have experienced, along with the suffering of the government, as they experience threats and anger from fellow Muslims.
In the second quadrant here, we chose to illustrate the noble truth suffering arises from desire through the fruit that has fallen into Siddhartha's hands. The noble truth, symbolized by the mango tree, is partly due to the fact that fruit invokes a sense of desire or passion for a sweet taste. The mango fruit is shown leaning over the river, dripping into Siddhartha's hands as he meditates above, which illustrates how Siddhartha is tainted by desire. The river symbolizes a simplistic and superficial lifestyle. However, the position of the river underneath the fruit illustrates that desire overcomes simplicity. This causes Siddhartha misery and suffering, which he must overcome.
Also illustrating the noble truth, suffering arises from desire, is the arrest of 3 men after they killed a family of 2 out of pure revenge. The courtroom illustrates the obvious place that the 3 men were sentenced in, and the miserable atmosphere of the room itself. The 3 men sentenced committed the crime out of pure desire for revenge, emphasizing how their sentencing shown in the current event is a result of their desire. The noble truth, suffering arises from desire, is blatantly emphasized through the current event and illustration of the mango fruit.
Following our second noble truth, we chose to illustrate the third noble truth, that suffering ends when desire ends, through Vasudeva's ferry boat, because by the ferry boat, Vasudeva learns to live a life of meditation, and he lives without desires and possessions. The ferry boat is shown as a simplistic canoe in order to show that Siddhartha's life was ordinary, and that he lived superficially with few riches and passions. With little possessions and desires, Siddhartha was able to awaken refreshed, almost radiant, which is shown through the peaceful, devout features of his face.
Alongside our ferry boat, we illustrated the noble truth, suffering ends when desire ends, through the action of a man that turned himself in, despite the fact he could go to jail. The man is experiencing extreme remorse and guilt, ultimately suffering, as he has gotten into a car accident, killing or severely injuring the other driver. The man's suffering only ends when he turns himself in, giving up all desires, specifically staying out of jail. His guilt and misery, emphasized in the photo, turns to relief and comfort as he rids himself of the culpability, thus illustrating that suffering ends when desire ends.
In our final quadrant, we chose to illustrate the way to end desire is to follow the Eightfold Path through the right belief and resolve by a river, because it is unchanging and constant. Siddhartha begins his new awakened life alongside this river, and begins his simplistic lifestyle with different resolutions. The river is represented as unbroken and constant in our painting, shown in the background, and Siddhartha is seen rising with a peaceful and devout expression. His expression ultimately emphasizes how he found calm and peace near the river, and the river's constant flowing illustrates how Siddhartha found peace.
Also, to emphasize the 4th noble truth, the way to end desire is to fall is to follow the Eightfold Path. We illustrated a teacher that was awarded the Nobel Prize for teaching. Nancy Atwell is depicted as showing her happiness over her newfound prize, standing next to two gentlemen. The gentleman on her left illustrates the extreme impact that her actions had, as he is from a foreign country, thus highlighting her resolve to help all countries and her belief that no human should be banned from education. Nancy Atwell's overwhelming happiness and her surroundings indicate the right resolve and belief that she had. That eventually rewarded her.
After reading and analyzing Siddhartha using our creativity and innovation, Kathryn and I realized that despite differences in humans, such as race, gender, intelligence, or age, all people are able to reach peace and tranquility simply by living superficially and without desires, only consuming love and wisdom.
Humanity is hatred, love, kindness, hostility, murder, acceptance, strife, purity, tainted ecstasy, and tragedy. But humanity is not evil.